Hey everyone, and welcome back to e-commerce psychology. You know, we love to go deep on all the ways we can understand the customer's mind.
Absolutely.
So today, we're diving into a tactic that can really boost those sales, making customers feel like they own something before they actually hit that buy now button.
It's kind of like you're planting a little seed of ownership in their mind.
Right, and it all comes back to this fascinating psychological principle called the endowment effect. Have you heard of this?
Oh yeah, familiar with that one.
Yeah, it's the idea that we tend to put a higher value on the things we own, even if that ownership is just a feeling like we think we own it.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, this episode is powered by Growth Suite. Growth Suite helps you to run smart discount campaigns on your store. Test it for free on your Shopify store. Just land on the Shopify App Store now and test it for free.
It's like that old saying, possession is 9/10 of the law. But in this case, it's more like the feeling of possession is 9/10 of the sale.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, totally. And, there's real science backing this up. Like, studies have shown that people want more money to sell something they own than they'd pay for that same item if they didn't own it.
It's really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
It all comes down to loss aversion.
Loss version.
Yeah, the pain of losing something we think we own
Right.
feels way stronger than the pleasure of gaining it in the first place,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So how do we use this in e-commerce?
Good question.
Yeah, how do we make someone feel that sense of ownership, before they actually click buy now?
Well, that is where pre-ownership marketing comes into play. And one of the biggest parts of this is really getting the different routes to psychological ownership.
Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. What are these routes?
So researchers have found 4 main routes: control, intimate knowledge, self-investment, and social influence.
Okay, so let's start with control. How do you give someone a sense of control over something they haven't even bought yet?
That's a good question. Think of things like free trials or those build your own product customization tools,
Yeah.
where you can personalize it. When you can personalize a product or experience it firsthand, you start to feel that sense of ownership. It's not just some random item on a screen anymore. It's like yours.
I can definitely see that. I was messing around on a website the other day that let me design my own sneakers. And I didn't even end up buying them.
Yeah,
But I felt like weirdly attached to that design.
I know exactly what you mean. That's the endowment effect in action.
It's crazy.
It is now the second route, intimate knowledge. That's all about familiarity.
Okay,
The more someone learns about a product, the more it feels like it could be a part of their life.
so that's detailed product descriptions,
Yeah.
really good photos, videos, all that stuff.
Absolutely. And think about those 360-degree product views where you can spin it around, zoom in. It creates a sense of intimacy, almost like you're holding it.
Yeah, like you're right there with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So what about self-investment? I feel like I've definitely fallen for that one.
Yeah, haven't we all?
Yeah.
Think about those limited edition products.
Oh, yeah.
Or pre-orders that create a sense of urgency or exclusivity.
Right.
The effort you put into acquiring something, even if it's just clicking a button really fast,
Right.
can increase its perceived value.
It's like we're wired to value things more if we have to work a little harder to get them.
Exactly. And then finally, we have social influence, which, let's face it, is huge in pretty much all aspects of our lives, including shopping, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're so influenced by what other people own and recommend.
Like those unboxing videos or those influencer must-have.
Exactly.
Right.
When we see other people enjoying something, it can make us want that same experience.
It's like we want to belong.
Exactly. It taps into our desire to belong and our tendency to trust people we admire, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got these 4 routes to psychological ownership. But how do we actually apply these to e-commerce strategies?
Yeah. How do we put it into practice?
Yeah, what are the actual tactics we can use?
That's where the art of using the right language comes in. Even small changes in wording can have a big impact.
Give me an example.
Okay, well, think about possessive pronouns, for example.
Okay.
Instead of saying add to cart, you could say add your items to cart.
Oh, it's like you're almost giving them permission to claim it as their own.
Exactly. Another tactic is what we call temporal language, basically encouraging shoppers to imagine themselves using the product in the future.
I like that, picture yourself relaxing on this hammock on a warm summer day.
Yes, perfect. You're painting a picture in their minds, bringing the future into the present,
Right.
It's powerful stuff.
So possessive pronouns, future-focused language. What other language tricks can we use to spark that sense of ownership?
Well, don't underestimate the power of sensory language.
Ooh.
Engage all five senses. Instead of just saying, this sweater is soft, you could say, imagine the feeling of this soft cashmere against your skin.
Yeah, you're not just describing the product, you're creating an experience.
Exactly. And that experience is key to fostering a sense of ownership.
This is so fascinating. I'm curious, how does this whole pre-ownership idea play out in the different stages of the customer journey? You know, from like awareness to consideration to purchase.
That's a great question. And it is important to think about how we can weave these strategies throughout that entire experience.
Okay, so let's break it down. At the awareness stage, it's all about grabbing their attention.
Absolutely. You want to make them stop scrolling and think, this is interesting. This could be for me.
Right.
That's the goal.
Okay, so eye-catching visuals, strong headlines, and language that kind of hints at ownership already.
Exactly. And then in the consideration stage, it's all about giving them more detailed information, and reinforcing that sense of ownership.
Like 360-degree product views, customer reviews, maybe even those virtual try-on features if they're available.
Exactly. You want to make them feel like they're already experiencing the product, not just reading about it.
Okay, so they're hooked, they're interested, they know about it, and now they're thinking about buying it. How do we get them to actually click buy now?
Well, that's when you might try tactics like limited time offers, free shipping, or even a countdown timer
Oh, yeah.
to create that sense of urgency.
It's like you're saying, don't miss out on owning this awesome product.
Exactly. But remember, even though we're talking about boosting sales, we have to use all of this ethically.
Right, we don't want to manipulate people into buying things they don't need or can't afford.
Of course not. Transparency and honesty are key.
So important.
We'll dive deeper into the ethics of all of this in part 2.
Okay, sounds good. But before we move on, I just want to remind everyone about our sponsor, Growth Suite. Growth Suite helps you to run smart discount campaigns on your store. Test it for free on your Shopify store. Just land on the Shopify App Store now and test it for free.
Now, where were we? Oh, yes, the ethical side of all of this. Yeah, it is a fine line,
Yeah, totally. I think it comes down to intention. Are we using these techniques to make the customer experience better? Or are we tricking people into buying things they don't actually need?
Exactly. And a classic example of this is scarcity tactics.
Oh, yeah. The limited time offer.
Yeah.
The only a few left in stock thing.
Right. This can be really effective, but you have to be so careful.
Yeah.
If you're always making things seem scarce, people won't trust you anymore.
Right. It's like the boy who cried wolf. If everything's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, people will stop believing it.
Exactly. And that's why you have to be transparent. If you're going to use scarcity tactics, be honest about the limits.
Right. If you only have a certain number in stock, say that. Don't just hint that it's going to sell out immediately.
Right. And if you're doing a limited time offer, be clear about how long it's actually going to last.
Okay, what about personalization?
Oh, yeah. Personalization, that can be huge for making customers feel valued.
Yeah.
But it also brings up some privacy issues,
Right. If you're using data to personalize recommendations or target ads, you have to be upfront about how you're using that data.
Absolutely. And customers should always have the option to opt out if they want to.
Right. And I think it's important to remember that not all personalization is good personalization.
You're so right. Just putting someone's name at the top of an email doesn't mean it's personal.
Exactly. It has to be relevant to what they actually want.
It's about understanding your customers, what they need, and then creating experiences that are made for them.
Right. And when you do that well, it can really build loyalty.
For sure. So we've talked about the ethics of all this.
Yeah.
But let's talk about technology. It's changing the game.
It really is. Things like AR and VR are creating amazing opportunities to make people feel that pre-ownership feeling.
Imagine trying on clothes virtually.
In your living room.
Right, in your living room. Or seeing how a new sofa would look in your house before you buy it.
Right.
That's what this technology lets you do. AR puts digital images right on top of the real world using your phone or tablet.
Right.
And VR creates these totally immersive digital worlds you can explore with a headset.
So cool.
It's like bringing the store right to you, but you can customize everything.
That's so much better.
Yeah, you can try different colors, different styles, see how furniture would fit in your house. Yeah.
You can get a sense of the size that you don't really get from regular online shopping.
Right, and all of this feeds into that pre-ownership feeling.
Exactly, when you can interact with a product in such a real way.
Yeah.
It's easier to imagine that you already own it. And the best part is these technologies are becoming available for all kinds of businesses.
Really?
Yeah, there are AR and VR apps and platforms that don't cost a fortune.
So even small businesses can use them.
Exactly. They can create these really cool shopping experiences.
It's a good time to be in e-commerce. And speaking of good times, I want to remind our listeners about our sponsor, Growth Suite.
Growth Suite helps you to run smart discount campaigns on your store. Test it for free on your Shopify store. Just land on the Shopify App Store now and test it for free.
So we've talked about AR and VR,
Yeah,
but there are other technologies that are changing pre-ownership marketing too.
absolutely. AI is a big one.
Artificial intelligence. Yeah, AI can suggest products that you're actually interested in, based on what you've looked at online, what you've bought before even your social media.
It's like having a personal shopper who knows exactly what you want.
Right, and when those recommendations are good, it makes you feel like those products were picked just for you.
Yeah, and that strengthens that feeling of ownership.
Exactly. AI can also personalize prices and promotions to make things feel exclusive.
It's all about making people feel understood, like you really get them.
Exactly, and let's not forget about social proof.
Oh, yeah.
It's super persuasive to see other people using and enjoying a product.
Especially if it's your friends or family or influencers that you like.
Right, user-generated content like reviews and photos and videos can be so valuable.
Yeah, it's like having a bunch of people telling you, this is great, you'll love it too.
Right, and when you see real people using something, it's easier to picture yourself using it too. It makes it feel more normal, more attainable.
So we've got this amazing combination of technology and psychology that's creating a whole new world for e-commerce.
Yeah, it's exciting to be a part of it, but just like with any powerful tool we have to use these technologies the right way.
Ethically.
Yes, ethically, we have to be aware of privacy, avoid manipulative tactics, and always put the customer first.
Okay, so let's wrap up with some key takeaways for our listeners.
Yeah.
What are your top 3 tips for using pre-ownership in e-commerce?
Okay, number 1, focus on language. Use possessive pronouns, future-focused language sensory details to really paint a picture.
Make them feel like they're already using the product.
Number 2, use technology, AR, VR, AI, create those immersive, personalized shopping experiences.
Bring the product to life.
And number 3, build a community. Get people talking about your brand. Encourage customers to share their experiences. Use user-generated content. Do contests and giveaways to create a buzz.
Those are great tips. And remember, this is just the beginning.
Yeah, there's so much more to learn.
Keep experimenting, keep testing, find what works for your audience.
And above all, be ethical, be transparent, and put the customer first.
Well said. So we've covered a lot today, from the psychology of ownership to the ethics of marketing.
It's been a good discussion.
I hope our listeners got a lot out of it.
Me too. And if they're looking for a great tool to help them run discount campaigns on their Shopify store, check out Growth Suite.
It's amazing. Growth Suite helps you to run smart discount campaigns on your store. Test it for free on your Shopify store. Just land on the Shopify App Store now and test it for free.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of e-commerce psychology. It feels like we could talk about this forever.
I know, right? There's so much more to it.
Maybe we'll have to do another deep dive on this sometime.
Definitely. But before we go too far, I think we should come back to something we talked about earlier.
You mean the ethical side of using these pre-ownership tactics?
Exactly. It's easy to get caught up in trying to sell more,
Right.
But we can't forget we're talking about real people.
Yeah, people who make decisions based on all kinds of things. Their emotions, their biases, what they see around them.
Exactly. And we have to respect that just because we can influence them doesn't mean we should,
Right. It's like having a superpower. You have to use it for good.
Exactly. So let's talk about some ways to make sure we're using pre-ownership ethically.
Okay, what are some red flags,
Mm.
things that might tell us we've gone too far?
One red flag is creating that false sense of urgency or scarcity.
Like those countdown timers that make you think you're going to miss out.
Right, or those limited time offers that are always running.
If you do that too much, people will catch on.
Yeah, they'll stop trusting you.
What else?
Another one is using manipulative language or images.
Like scare tactics or making promises that are too good to be true.
Right, you want to persuade people, not pressure them.
I think transparency is really important too.
Absolutely be upfront about the price, shipping, returns.
Yeah, don't hide anything.
Don't make it hard to figure out the details and be honest about what your products can and can't do.
Don't overpromise.
Don't set unrealistic expectations. I think a good way to check yourself is to ask, would I do this to my friends or family?
That's a good one.
If the answer is no, then you probably shouldn't do it to your customers either.
It all comes down to treating people the way you want to be treated.
Exactly, and building those relationships based on trust.
That's what leads to success in the long run.
Exactly. So we've covered a lot today, from the psychology behind ownership to the ethics of marketing.
It's been a great deep dive.
I hope it gave everyone some things to think about.
I hope so. And I hope they'll use what they learned to create better e-commerce experiences. More engaging, more persuasive, but also more ethical.
For sure. And if they're looking for a great tool to help them run discount campaigns on their Shopify store, they should definitely check out Growth Suite.
It's fantastic. Growth Suite helps you to run smart discount campaigns on your store. Test it for free on your Shopify store. Just land on the Shopify App Store now and test it for free.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into e-commerce psychology.